And we're live.
What is going on, people? Welcome back to the Invincible podcast, the greatest podcast in the universe. I'm your host, Tony Polanco, and today I'm joined by Mr. Richard Bailey Jr.
What's up, Tony? What's up, listeners and viewers?
All right, we got Carlos Romero in the house.
Yo, what's going on?
And joining us after many failed attempts for the past couple of weeks, Chris Seeley.
Hey, I'm glad to be here. I'm
Yes.
only more than halfway through the season, but I made it.
There you go, man. That's awesome. Glad to have you here. But you've been with us in spirit, so it's all good. No Dana action. I'm not going to say what she's working on, but she's working on something very cool for the Koalition. Stay tuned for that, as Rich would say. But yeah, man, let's get into it. Invincible. Like I told the fellas before the start of the show, we're going to mostly cover this episode in order, but I'm going to save the Guardian stuff, for later. And obviously, I don't need to say this, but I'm going to say it anyway. This is a spoiler episode, so you already know what you're getting in for. Oh, man. So, yeah, this was another episode that's kind of like a one-off in a way. Can't really say it contributed to the larger story, but again, we always appreciate character development in the show and world building, which just had both of, so very cool. So, this episode, unlike the last couple episodes, the intro was actually pertinent to the actual episode. It wasn't like some random stuff like those villains escaping. So yeah, we see the beginning. We see this dude with his like Nisa and like sister-in-law like in a park chilling, and you see, dude has some kind of like interesting powers. Like if he gets hit, like it kind of converts into electricity. And then after that, all hell breaks loose. The city gets attacked. Very reminiscent of Batman versus Superman, where Bruce Wayne is in Gotham, in Metropolis, and he sees the fight between Superman and the Kryptonians. Well, kind of had that with this dude, who we learned his name is Scott, seeing his family get killed and stuff during the battle. So very upset about this. His name's Scott Duvall. We learned that basically he works for the GDA and harbors a lot of resentment towards Invincible. And it's very interesting because usually these kind of guys hate all superheroes. No, he hates Invincible specifically, and he even tries to get like the law to help him out. And I think he was talking to a district attorney, and she's like, listen, man, we don't got laws for this type of shit, and we learned that, yeah, he wants to get his revenge, and we kind of see the seeds of it. So yeah, what'd you guys think of that whole intro? Rich, I'll start with you.
Yeah, I thought it was fantastic. Well, first and foremost, I thought the episode was phenomenal.
Yes.
This introduction of this character, I think this is a story that they needed to tell so that we can see another perspective of the events of what happened between Invincible and Omni-Man. And you made a very good comment, Tony. You said this reminds you of, you said Batman
versus
Superman.
Yeah.
I would also say it reminds me of, I believe, Civil War, in the events that led to Civil War with the Avengers, because you saw certain people with getting killed because of stuff that they did. So, yeah, I thought it was very good.
Yeah. What about you, Chris? What do you think of that intro?
Well, I thought it was good because, all right, if I remember correctly, they didn't. This was very brief in the comic.
Yeah,
they did not do all this backstory, connecting him to the Omni-Man Invincible fight and the deaths there. So I thought that was fleshed out really well because he's just there in the comic. He's just pissed at Invincible and they fight, right? But so giving him a backstory, and especially the build up to what happens at the end was fantastic. Like, I thought that was well done. So they filled in stuff that the comic didn't do, but it had such a better emotional payoff than the comic story. I thought that was very, very well done.
Yeah. What about you, Carlos?
Yeah, pretty much echo what everyone said. It's interesting to see this perspective. Like you guys mentioned, the whole Batman versus Superman stuff. I know it's probably bringing up PTSD for some of you guys. But I like the storyline. I like how it kind of resolved at the end, which we'll get into. But overall pretty good.
Yeah, what like we're gonna get into this obviously. because Chris, like I mentioned this last week, I was like, I read these books like 15, 20 years ago, so I don't remember some stuff. Like I remember this guy, but I was like, did he have that backstory or not?
No, you're right. He didn't.
Yeah, but because of that, and this is why I'm still hesitant to read the comics again while doing the show, because I'm have this balance of like I remember the big stuff, but I don't remember the little stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of surprised. So I went into this thinking this. I just want to toss this out there. As soon as episodes are, I'm like, oh, is it going to be one of these situations where this guy uses his powers against Invincible, then he gets a bunch of people killed, and then he's like, oh no, I've become like Invincible. That's what I was thinking. But no, what happened was something else completely.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we had that introduction. Then right after that, we go into some training with Oliver. Very hilarious to find out that basically was this guy Elephant Man or whatever his name was. He's basically like their punching bag. Like this is the dude you use to train on if you're trying to become a superhero. And he's like, wait, you guys just use me? What the fuck?
Yeah.
And then Oliver obviously go ahead, Chris.
Yeah. No, I thought it's funny because nobody takes Rhino seriously in Spider-Man, right? Nobody takes so that was the best use for him. It's like this guy's a joke. It's like, really, you're an elephant? You're wearing an elephant suit? So like he's just a punching bag, right? For stronger heroes.
Yeah, but I just like that aside. He's like Oliver's like, why do I have to fight this elephant guy? And Invincible's like, because I had to fight him to train too, bro. And it also lets you know how fucked up it's the justice system that they can't keep this guy in jail. Typical superhero stuff, So I thought that was funny. And then after that, we kind of had a really good scene with Oliver. He's like, hey, like Dad wasn't really bad. You find out Oliver has like good memory. There's a like photographic memory. He remembers everything. So he's like, wait a minute, but he loved my mom. He raised me good. What the fuck? And then Mark is like, yeah, he's kind of two people, man. That's something we just gotta kind of grapple with because we both love him, but the world is not going to be able to forgive him, even though he, like Mark rightly said, Omni-Man probably saved more people than he killed, but that's not the way shit works.
Yeah.
But yeah, Carlos, what did you think of that?
Yeah, I like the way that they sold that or did the little training. It was pretty funny with levity and stuff. But I'm more curious to those discussions when it comes to that they had with the kid, with Oliver, and about Omni-Man, because obviously things in life aren't black and white, but it's pretty freaking clear, like, to tell him, yo, Dad wasn't a good guy, at least when he was here. Like that's pretty plain. Like obviously maybe after he left the planet he maybe turned to a better person. But yeah, there's really no way to cut it. He was a bad person. So I'm interested to see if that sort of reality creates a divide between Oliver and Mark. We'll see. But yeah, like the scene overall.
Yeah. Chris, what are your thoughts?
That fleshes out really well with Oliver's character development. To understand like it started like I know I haven't been here, and like the thing already happened where he killed the Maulers.
Yeah.
And then he had to understand why you can't do that. And where it's like you can't just kill, like we're not murderers. It's like, oh, but Dad did it, and it's like, no, that's not right. What he did wasn't right. So this is all part of his development. And I did like in the previous episode where he snuck out and then he sees he's just skateboarding and he's worried he's going to kill the bullies and he just pulls their pants down. So it's like he's growing as a character. Like, I think I know what happens later. I'm not saying anything, but he still has a lot of sympathy towards his father, especially with his, that he remembers everything since birth. So he has a lot of, soft feelings toward him, and he can't understand why people hate him. And it's like, well, you don't have Mark's experience because you're just a child. And he saw what he did. And also he put Omni-Man put a whooping on him to, he's like, you're going to take over the planet with me. And that's how these people got killed. That's how we ended up with this story. So, yeah, but very interesting. I like where it's going. I think it's being fleshed out pretty well. And I think they took some edge off of Oliver that was in the comic, where he was very logical. He was almost like Spock. He almost talked very like,
Oliver,
this is not logical.
Right. Yeah.
This is logical. Like, killing villains is logical. He used to say that a lot. So I'm glad they took some of that edge off him, where he was very like robotic.
Yeah, for sure. Rich, what do you think of that whole scene with Oliver and all that?
Well, I agree with a lot of points that were made. To add on to some stuff that was said, though, the character development of Oliver, I think, was great. I also think it was a great touch to show the flashback of when Mark was a kid, so he can relate to Oliver and say, yes, I did know this same version of dad that you knew, but I also knew the version that was very violent. And I think it's very interesting to see what happens with Oliver moving forward, because I kind of feel like he also will understand why his dad did certain things the same way that Mark now understands why he is now has people against him on both sides. So I kind of feel like it's going to be a learning thing that continues from here on out for Oliver.
Yeah, no, he's growing. And yeah, that's a good point to make. It's like, yeah, he in the comics, he really was more cold and analytical. So they made him more like a kid in the show, which is good, I think. You know, yeah, that, like you said, definitely more relatable in that way. And Rich, I like you said, it's true. It's like I like that part where Mark is like, yeah, when we were kids, he wasn't like that, like showing that relationship. Like, yeah, these guys obviously different mothers. Obviously, Mark's mom's got a bug, you know, but it's the same dad. You know, but I like that. He like Oliver like talked about like, you know, his mom and some of the things that he did with Omni-Man on that bug planet. So that was good because again, and this is what we all love about the show. These characters are complex; they're not simple. Yeah, Omni-Man did murder a bunch of people, but he still loves his kids. You know, even the fucking Bug Boy. You know, so that's how it is. All right, so the next
Bugni-Man,
yeah, Bugni-Man.
Bugni-Man.
You know. Chris, by the way, what would you think of that? The name he wanted to originally use, Kid Omni-Man.
Kid Omni-Man. It's like, wait a minute, this doesn't make sense.
Like,
would you just be Omni Kid?
Yeah, Omni
I thought
Kid.
you was the logical one.
All right. Then we have a brief scene with Scott, you know, Mr. Duvall, who now calls himself Powerplex. And we saw that his wife is there kind of helping him out because he has the electricity powers, but they're not really, they're kind of low level. So he has these like power amplifiers that, you know, he stole, I guess, from the GDA, and she has to like attach it to a very brutal little scene there. You know, and you also learn, oh, he has a baby. So like very interesting scene there. And I'm gonna toss this out now. Obviously, this is a spoiler show. You already know what happens, but I'm just gonna toss out there. Right from the beginning, you learn that his wife is ride or die, and that ride or die is very pertinent to what happens later, you know. But yeah, I liked that it was a good scene just to establish like he's not just a typical super villain, like I will steal the money from the bank, you know. It's like he wants Invincible to suffer, you know, and he's with, and his family's with him too. Go ahead, Carlos.
Well, and also when I was watching that scene, I was like, oh, here we go. Like he's dragging his family into this. Oh no, the wife is probably more complicit than he is. At
for
this
real.
Point.
Yeah.
Because yeah, you're right, Carlos.
Like, Clyde stuff.
Yeah, no, you're right about it. Because think about it like this, and we're gonna get more to later. There are a lot of scenes where this dude is like, "Yo, I'm done. I can't do it." She's like, "No, you're gonna keep doing it." I'm like, women, bro, it's like they always get you in trouble. I'm telling you, you know. But yeah, what else would you guys think of that scene? Rich, we'll start with you. You know, learning about the man.
Yeah, so we knew that this was going to happen because he was obsessed from the start of the episode. And again, they make the character three-dimensional because you understand the motivations, the reason why he doesn't like Invincible. And you also understand when he sees that Invincible there was no punishment for what happened in terms of nothing happened to him as a result of that. Obviously, we as fans know Invincible was dealing with this stuff on an emotional level and how it impacts him, but you didn't see there was no consequences that came to him. So you saw it was the downward spiral with this character. You saw how eventually he was going to make this turn. So when he had the scene with the wife, you know, sticking the stuff into him, yeah, I expected things to get out of hand, more intense. So this is how you show the downfall of a character. You know, you show the complete growth, the development, and then completely on the dark side now towards doing a lot of bad things. So I thought they did a very good job with that.
Yeah. Chris, thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, especially looking at his motivations, he was already motivated, but his wife really pushed him over the edge. I mean, she installs the shit in him. Like he's reluctant to do it, and like, no, sit down. And she starts pushing the freaking capacitors into him. Which, I mean, they make the point like, hey, we can't take these out. I'm like, that's gonna make cold time a bit difficult. I don't know. And then you start knocking your husband around with a sledgehammer. Just to
that was crazy.
Yeah,
like,
but no, it was like he was motivated enough, but not motivated to go the lengths he did and will do as we talk. She pushed him every step of the way. He was like ready to stop, and there was multiple attempts to the episode. Right, they had to extend it. It wasn't just the one fight. It was the that ceremony, and all.
Yeah, that's right. The memorial,
and then he had the confrontation with the cops, and what's his name, Shapesmith?
Yeah, Shapesmith. Yeah.
But yeah.
What's up, Rich?
I just want to say one point. I want to say this before you go to Carlos. I have to say it. Aaron Paul did a phenomenal job as this character. Aaron Paul. This is the same guy
that was in
Breaking Bad. Yes.
Oh shit, I didn't know that.
Breaking Bad, phenomenal job. So, shout outs to him.
No, that was good. Yeah. All right. Any last thoughts on this before we move on to the next scene?
Whoever wrote that scene is married.
Yeah, is married or isn't?
Is.
Okay, yeah.
There's a lot of metaphors.
I was gonna ask you, like, what you think of that scene as a father? Because obviously,
oh man, well I'll save those thoughts till we get to the end because
But I just want to let it be known, Chris's wife does not hit him with a sledgehammer, so none of that is happening.
There's emotional sledgehammers.
Yeah, excuse me. Carlos, I think you said your piece on this, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you did. All right, but I do want you to go up. I want you to go first after I give the introduction to the next part. After that, we have a little bit of a family dinner with Invincible, and you find out that Carlos's favorite character, Paul, feels very inadequate. He's like, wait a minute, I'm an insurance agency agent. What the fuck am I doing with these superheroes? And Debbie's like, no, it's all good, but you could tell my man. He's like, yo, man, I don't know if I measure up. So, what'd you think of that, Carlos? And everybody else.
That's straight villain behavior, man. I'm telling you.
I know you were like, this is it. I'm being proved right now. Chris, Carlos's running theory this entire season has been that Paul is the guy with the orbs watching over Invincible. He's like, I don't trust that guy. I said, Carlos, I know you were like, this is it. This is what's happening. I'm being justified. Miss Cleo again, son.
This dude is not to be trusted, man. How the hell do you get into a relationship where the odds are against you? And he even mentions it every episode. He's like, I don't know how I stack up. And literally he said this in this episode. So I'm like, yo, man, you getting into a relationship with all this baggage, something's wrong with you. I like the scene. It was pretty funny. And man, obviously I was proven wrong at the end of the episode when it came to the orbs thing, but I'm still holding on for hope.
Ekstrom, Levy, and Paul get together, take down Invincible.
The dynamic duo, man.
Yeah. What about the rest of you guys? What do you think?
I just took it as a straightforward scene. He's got big shoes. He's got Omni-Man shoes to fill. It feels very inadequate. So when Mark's talking about superhero exploits, and he's like, "Hey, I worked today," you can kind of sympathize with him. But I just thought it was a straightforward scene. He's just trying to. I think she says like, "Oh, you're not their father, right?" But he's trying to be, but he doesn't know how, because how do you relate to people with superpowers, right? And you're just a real estate agent.
Yeah, for sure. And Rich, what do you think of the fact that he made meatball and spaghettis for dinner?
Hey, he just he wanted to make himself useful, I guess, to some extent. But no, I agree with a lot of what has been said about this character. I know Carlos was very angry to see that this guy was not the one that was behind everything, but that is a realistic response that you should have if you're in that kind of relationship, because it's a very awkward situation. Both the kids are superpowered individuals. There's a lot of things going on. They have a job to save the world. So yeah, I would also feel inadequate in that particular relationship.
Yeah, because remember, this isn't the first time that he's like, "Oh, I don't know about this."
Yeah,
You
so
know? I'm telling you that Debbie, man, that coochie must be good for him to stay. 'Cause it's like, I would have as soon as she would have said, "Oh, Omni-Man's my husband," I'm out. I'm good. That's it. No second. Like I'm done. I'm not dealing with this shit because if that motherfucker comes back, you know.
But you know what? To go to your point, Tony, it's the perfect storm because I do want to see that reunion now. When Omni-Man returns, and maybe he happens to be there with Debbie and the kids, I would like to see how that interaction goes down.
He's gonna turn into Omnipol.
There you go. That's what the whole show's been leading up to, the fight between Omni-Man and Paul. Paul's going to reveal that he has powers. Oh, man.
You can't sell this house.
You can't sell this house, motherfucker. Oh, man. All right. And then, we have a quick little scene of Powerplex basically throw himself off a building to really amp himself up, and that kind of leads to, like a little bit of a double date. William there with what's his face, the robot dude. I keep forgetting his name, but they're bowling. Even though Invincible is a superhero, apparently William is a better bowler, which I find very fun. And then Dana's favorite character, Amber, shows up, and we got to some awkward moments, but they're like, listen, we're all adults, it's all good. Even though Invincible and Amber's new boyfriend bond over Seance Dog. So that was kind of funny. She's like, oh, fuck, I guess I got a type, But everything was kind of good overall. And there was a quick scene of Powerplex, like rampaging and shit. And as soon as he was like, I just want in, and then he shuts off the TV like, listen, got my night off, bro. I'm good. I'm not doing
let somebody else do it.
Yeah, go ahead, Rich.
That was great editing. Back and forth with the Invincible. He always is,
the title card.
We're going to talk about that. Yeah,
that was awesome. I enjoyed that.
Yeah. So, Rich, since you're here, what do you think of that whole little sequence with the double date and all that?
I figured at some point they were going to have some type of interaction with those characters because we saw that in the previous episode, Eve was telling Amber that, okay, yeah, now I'm with Mark. So I figured at some point there was going to possibly be a double date, some type of interaction and acknowledgement of the current situation. So I thought it was good. Of course, Mark, very delusional to say, oh, I could take a night off. You see that the guy is on TV mentioning, about to mention Invincible, TV shuts off. You know damn well your job is to protect the world. So I did laugh when I saw that, but I figured, okay, well, they'll have their little confrontation later on in the episode. But I thought it was good.
Yeah, it was a nice little scene. Carlos, what do you think of that little bowling sequence?
Yo, man, she's got a type. It's a nerd.
He said he's a nerd.
Yeah, I like the scene. I like that it didn't really get into like any conflict, which could have happened. It just moved along, and we'll get to it. I like the little setup they did where it's like, I'm here to get in, and then he shuts it down, and then the way it carries over to the next scene where it cuts him off every time. Yeah, I thought it was pretty good. Yeah, the scene overall was good. I want to talk more about the next one though.
Yeah. All right. So, Chris, quick thoughts on this date, and then we get to the good stuff.
Yeah, I like it because it broke up the tension of the episode with some levity. He's enjoying himself with his friends bowling, and then the way Powerplex is introduced, it's disarming people who don't know what's happening, and then you're not taking this guy seriously. Like, he gets interrupted by the title cards. Invincible shuts off the TV, doesn't even let him finish. So it's like you're disarmed because you're not taking him seriously, but like this guy ends up being very serious. Like, so I thought that's a brilliant move. They didn't play him up too much. They build him up right through the episode. Yeah. Like, he's not serious right now. At the point we're talking about him, you're not taking him seriously.
That's a good point. Yeah, and you guys already mentioned, let's get into it. Yeah, like the title card sequence for this episode was fantastic because every single time he mentioned Invincible's name, it would just be Invincible. And then the final time it says it's like the full one, So I thought that was like clever. I remember the Invincible Twitter actually said like, yo, this title card goes hard. I was like, I wonder what they mean by that. And now you know. Yeah, that was good. And then obviously that leads to, you know, a fight with Shapesmith. He comes around. Nobody knows who the fuck he is. Like, hey, I'm here. People are like, wait, who are you again, bro? You know, they have their little battle and stuff. And yeah, Powerplex wins. Like, even though he's obviously not trained for this stuff, he wins the battle. So yeah, what'd you think of that little sequence?
Yo, man, here's my question. Powerplex is working with the GDA, you know, as a double agent in the sort. He knows where he lives. Why didn't he just go to his crib?
That's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah, like why did he have to start, you know, mayhem there? You know, that's what I was wondering. And I also like the way they did the shapeshifter, because I was like, I don't remember this dude, like the name and stuff, and I'm like, they said exactly what I was thinking.
That's funny. Who?
Who? Yeah, this was a good scene. Yo, man, I thought he actually killed him at the end.
That's what the cops said too.
Yeah, the cops like, oh, he's dead. He killed a member of the Guardians.
So I thought that was pretty funny.
Yeah, but to kind of tie back, Chris, to what you said, it's like you're not really taking this guy seriously. But after this scene, you're like, hold on a second, man. Yeah, this guy has some juice.
Yeah, literally, but each incident, you take him. It's a little more like, so he wallops Shapesmith, and you're like, okay, I'm taking this guy a little seriously. At the memorial, a little more, right? Until you get to the end, right? And then that's the payoff.
Yeah. By the way, the one thing I was thinking this whole time, I was like, dude, you have no mask. They're gonna know who you are. You know, like it's right there, bro. You know? Yeah,
it's another thing. I was curious every time, you know, like for example, Mark does something and it's like the GDA is already there. I wonder why the GDA wasn't quicker in, you know, trying to get this dude.
Yeah, that is a good question. I didn't think about that, but you're right. It's like, wait, why didn't maybe he didn't have access to those files for Mark, so we could kind of dismiss that. Still a good question, but you're right. If the GDA already sees this guy on TV, it's like, yo, that's motherfucking Scott Duvall, man.
Yeah. Not only that, he stole our tech. Like, yeah, you know.
Yep.
So you'd think they'd be on him in 2 seconds, and he keeps going home saying the GDA is going to be on me, and then his wife's like, "No, you're going to try again."
Exactly. She's egging him on, like, "No, you ain't done. You ain't done, bruh." You know, but the sequence you just described, Chris, was interesting because the baby's now scared of him. You remember he freaks out, he like breaks the lights or whatever, and the kid's scared, like, "Oh shit, baby didn't crawl to him; he crawled to the mother." You know.
Yeah.
So yeah, but you're right. It's like amping things up. But that wife, man, she's more dangerous than him. You know. But at the end, she's like, "Hold on, you still got a chance though. Got the memorial." And at first, I don't know if you guys you're thinking about. You're like, what the fuck memorial are you talking about? But yeah, we learned. I don't know if they said I guess it was like a 1 year anniversary, right? Because not much time has passed in the show. Yeah, it's a 1 year anniversary of the fight in Chicago, among other places. Remember, Invincible and Omni-Man fought all across the world. What's up, Rich?
I have to ask a question about this.
Uh-oh.
It goes to a critique that you guys had on the last episode. So why the hell was Mark flying them to this memorial?
Yeah,
is there something wrong with the car?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, so it's like, are you trying to be found? Are you people trying to see who you are? I mean, that's what it felt like to me when I see someone flying in the sky. Wait a second. That's I didn't understand that. So
yeah, and we got cell phones now. It's like, take a picture of this guy, you know.
Yes.
But yeah, we saw yet another sequence. Of Paul freaking out. It's like, yeah, this dude's about to leave in like episode or 2, bro. Like, hey, this ain't gonna last.
I'm built for this.
Yeah, but Carlos, were you like, oh, hold on, there's more, you know?
Yeah, man, this is where he's gonna strike, man. This is it.
Yeah. But obviously that led to the sequence of Powerplex showing up at the memorial, going crazy. And Mark was about to get down, you know, but Eve comes in, stops him and all that, and then she cleverly figures out, oh wait, if I hit this guy, he gets stronger. So she uses her powers. Remember, she could make anything, so she makes other like constructs and stuff, and that was pretty good. So yeah, what'd you guys think of all that? The memorial interruption and all that.
Here's my question.
Oh, go ahead, Carlos. He's talking. Yeah.
Question.
Yeah.
Why is it? So he's been working with the GDA for a bit. he's been monitoring Mark. Did he acknowledge the fact that he knows that Mark and Eve are going out together? Like, so it's like he didn't really acknowledge that. And also another thing, and then maybe this is just a superhero explanation to this, common trope. Why didn't he out him for who he is to the world?
I don't think he knows. Like, the episode made it seem like he doesn't know who Mark is.
Interesting.
I think I can answer some of that question.
Yeah.
I think this guy is just full of blind rage, and he just wants to kill Invincible. He hates Invincible, but he obviously, but because of that mindset, he's not going to take time to think about other things like, oh, let me go after his significant others and stuff like that. Because even later on, we'll get into this later, his whole plan of trying to get Invincible to come to him, that could have been an opportunity to try to go after Eve and try to get her captured, or even his mom or brother Oliver. So he definitely didn't think any of this stuff through. He just had a one-track mind.
Yeah, but I wonder if he even has access to that sort of information.
Oh,
remember, I think he's just locked up in the lab and shit. Because I'm assuming the GDA has like need to know basis type of shit going on. It's like we don't need everybody to know this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So that's got to be the only explanation. I don't think he just has access to whatever Cecil has access to, for example. But yeah, Chris, what do you think of all that?
I thought it was pretty good. I mean, Eve was smart. Like, she diffused him like right there and then fought him. Figured out how his powers worked, so she got him to like burn his energy instead of just walloping him.
Yeah.
Well, what I was shocked at, that the Guardians showed up.
Yeah.
And they didn't really do anything. She just says, "Hey, you take over from here," and she leaves. I would have been like, "Hey, Immortal, like, try not to hit him." Right, I would have. She didn't say like, "Hey, his powers work if you hit him, so don't hit him." Right, that was the only thing missing from that scene, because I thought it was like, "Oh, they wrote her so well, she's brilliant, she figured it out." But then she tags them in, and then it's like, "But you didn't. They don't know that how his powers work. That Immortal's probably going to punch him in the face, and then you're starting all over again."
That's a good point. Yeah, she should have coated him in like some kind of like, I don't know,
like
some
rubber or something, insulate him.
Yeah. So I think that was kind of where she's like, okay, you guys handle it, but she was smart in going, hey, what he wants you is going to agitate him, I'll fight him. And again, this proves our point that we said before, that Invincible, that Invincible is better off with someone like Eve as his girlfriend, because she could take care of herself. If a villain goes after her, it's like you're gonna get fucked up, bro. So that was good. And then obviously the party didn't last very long, because GDA very sloppy with this. They're taking him out, and he starts like hitting himself against like the inside of the truck he's in, and obviously escapes. So I thought that was sloppy on their end. It's like, what are you guys doing? And then obviously he goes back to his wife once again. She eggs him on, because he's like, I don't know, man. Like, I don't think it's gonna work. It's like, no, you're gonna fucking do it. You're gonna fucking do it. Yeah, it's like, damn, ride or die, and that may cause her to do the latter. So I'm pretty sure you guys saw that shit coming. It's like he's gonna escape, but I was very flabbergasted by the incompetence of the GDA in this situation. Go ahead, Rich.
Yeah, man. Go ahead, Rich.
Oh no, go ahead, Carlos.
Go ahead, bro. Yeah.
Yo, man. What is Cecil doing, man? That's all I gotta say. He's been MIA. I don't know what's going on. He's been inadequate. He can't even handle his own employees, man. Someone needs to check on Cecil.
Yeah, for real. Yeah, but yeah, go ahead, Rich.
Yeah. This goes back to the point that y'all made earlier about Eve could have told Immortal, don't hit him, but yeah, in the whole general scope of things, they should have known when you do certain things to this character, how he will react to it. So they should have been better prepared, because if they knew that information, I mean, when I saw him in the truck, I said, oh, he's obviously going to escape. This is before there was even an interaction between him and the guards. I said, yes, because they have him. He's just, chained up, but he's still right there. He's able to move around. So, yeah, I figured he was going to find a way to escape. But, yeah, they should have thought that through.
Yeah, it reminded me of the prison break from last episode. I'm like, why did you put a power inhibitor on this guy before putting him in the cell? So yeah, DDA, they're a little sloppy, So So, Chris, what do you think of that escape sequence? And also, were you wondering if he was going to get the guards to beat his ass so he could power up? That's what I was thinking.
I was, I thought that was he was going to piss them off, and they were going to just like lose it and punch him. And the one guard would be like, "No, don't hit him, man." And the other guy's like, "Fuck this guy!" And then he like he gets charged up, but no, he just beats his own ass against the wall and then shorts out the truck and almost I was surprised. I thought they were gonna when the truck crashed. I thought they were gonna be like, okay, this is where he crosses the line because that truck's gonna kill somebody when it's crashing off the highway, and then he escapes. But it's like, he's at the ends justify the means point of that, but they didn't do that. Like, no, there was no casualties with the crash truck, which I thought was a missed opportunity because I thought, oh, this is where he's like, I don't give a shit. I want Invincible dead, so he'll do whatever it takes.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, little sequence there. And there was also another kind of smaller sequence, like after everything happened that, Marcus at the memorial. And he's like, like he thought of the victims, but not really. And then he brought up a good point. It's like, if Powerplex would have, hurt people that day, he was like, yo, that would have been my fault because I created them. Even though you could say not really, but you understand his, his mindset. And I thought that was a good sequence because, again, if you read superhero comics or watch superhero shows or movies or whatever, you see all this destruction happen, but you never see the aftermath. It's like, yeah, people are dying during these superhero battles, so that's why I'm glad this episode kind of focused on that. Like, what happens when, like a regular, even though obviously this dude's not a regular person, like whatever a regular person just gets affected by this shit, what are they going to do? So it's good to see Mark now thinking more about this. And I'm assuming he's going to impart these lessons on Oliver as well. It's like, dude, people get hurt, So Chris, what do you think of that little sequence?
No, that was it was well done. Like I said, like everything was just a subtle build up to the end, and I think, but it bothered me too, and I don't think this was addressed why the GDA was not present at all, and then when they were present, it was just we're gonna get to that part, but it's like, okay, this guy's on TV twice, now he's had 2 major battles. And nobody's addressed it except they pick him up, right? And then so he escapes, and then there's no follow up. There's no like alternate crew. There's no escort. There's no like helicopter tracing them. There's no Cecil watching the United States map, going, "Oh, shit, done again. All right, teleport me over there. I'll do it myself." None of that. It's kind of weird.
Yeah, but to your point before. Maybe it's because they didn't take him seriously. Like the audience wasn't meant to take him seriously,
Yeah, I would only say they would take him seriously because he stole their shit. Like that was the thing. I mean, yeah, I wouldn't take him seriously except that he stole their tech, and that's how he's doing what he's doing. And that's the thing that bothered me. It's like, oh yeah, and they mention it later. Look, he stole these high power capacitors from us. Like, and this is not a big deal because. It's kind of weird.
A big
it's
deal,
like casual,
guys,
right? It's like these multi-billion-dollar capacitors that he shoved in his shoulders. It's all right.
Yeah, Carlos, what do you think of that little moment with Mark going? I should have probably thought about these people more.
Yeah, I mean, it's. Hold on, 1 second.
Oh, they got dogs.
They got dogs.
Yeah.
Yeah, Rich, you could go while Carlos is dealing with the dogs or whatever. Rich, go ahead, Ben.
You muted.
Yeah, I think that scene was needed so that he can try to understand and deal with the conflict of. I mean, it's important that they know there are consequences to their actions. Obviously, he didn't think about this when he was getting his ass whooped by his father and vice versa. Neither one of them were thinking about any of that because, that wasn't the focus at that point in time. But yeah, he needed to learn that there are consequences to actions. So I think the scene was necessary just to understand.
Yeah. I mean, how would he think about it? I mean, his father was whooping his ass and then beat him all the way to the Himalayas. Like, I mean, at what point are you thinking, damn, all those people? No, you're still getting your ass beat by your father.
Oh yeah,
across the world. And yeah, so it's like then he stopped to think about it. But I guess it's a good point too. It's like there was such collateral damage from that fight. Like if he focused on it, he couldn't function as a person. It was like, what did they say the death toll was in Chicago alone was like 2,300, 2,400
Yeah, it was
people?
hundreds of like thousands of people. Yeah, right about that. And and Mark even says it later on in the episode. He's like, I had to shut that part off. You know.
Yeah.
You have to. You know.
There's no way you just have PTSD and he couldn't function as a hero or a person if he just dwelled on it.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, that was a good sequence. And then, and Chris, you already alluded to it. Yeah, we, Mark has a meeting with Donald, and he gives him the skinny. He's like, all right, Scott Duvall has some powers, worked for us, stole our tech. You gotta, bring him in if you can, And they raided his home and everything. So at this point, the family had already moved out. So, and this is obviously all leading up to, the ending where, and you guys kind of knew what was happening because the wife was like, oh, I got an idea, and then the next sequence is like she's tied up and stuff. Invincible shows up, obviously a ruse, little bit of a, power struggle there. But before that, he really had Powerplex trying to and tell him like, you ruined my life. You never thought about us, and Invincible apologizes, but he didn't give a fuck about that. They have a battle, as soon as the battle was happening, it's like, yo, because he almost got his wife killed already. Like there was like a piece of like the ceiling breaking out. He's like, dude, you're gonna hurt him. Stop. And then I was like, oh, okay, you know what's gonna happen next. And obviously he gets his wife fucking killed, his baby fried, and they show all of it in the show. No fucks given, and he overloaded himself and all that, and that was that, So yeah, what do you guys think of that? The final confrontation between these two.
I thought it was very well done. It's this is the point. I remember in the comic it was just this part that we see. We don't see the rest of this stuff. The episode fleshes out all this stuff. I think the comic starts at him coming to the building.
Yeah.
And Powerplex, and that's how you're introduced to him. And then so it doesn't have the emotional payoff like he fried his wife and his son trying to kill Invincible. By overloading his powers, and it's like, oh, that sucks. But now it's really like, it's like you see it, and you knew what was going to happen, right? Like you said, the building is crumbling and stuff. It's like, oh, a pillar is going to fall on them, whatever. No, he just uses his power so hard that the electricity roasts them. Like they're behind them by the pillar. Like they're not. I don't think she was tied up anymore, but she's holding the baby. And then the next thing he turns around, you see ashes floating in the air, and you're like, oh shit, no. And then they show them they're just charbroiled back there, and it's like, oh man. And to as a as a father now, like you feel for it. It's like
I was going to ask you about that.
Yeah. It's that has a huge emotional payoff. You don't want to see that stuff. It hits you different. When you have a child. So it that was definitely brutal, but I'm glad they did it. They didn't shy away, because in the comic they show them too, like fried. And that's there's his like point of no return, because when we finish the episode, we see what happens to him and how he feels about all this stuff. But the fight was great. And I was a little shocked the whooping he put on Invincible in there. I didn't, like I said, you don't take him seriously, and then it's like he really grabs his face and just starts shocking the shit out of him.
Yeah,
and it's like, man, could he have like killed him or put him in a coma or something? Because he's like he fucked him up pretty badly. Like the only reason he stopped because he charbroiled his wife and son.
No, you're right about that. But again, one of the running jokes of this show is like the main character is called Invincible, but he's always getting fucked up.
Yeah.
But at the same time, he would have overloaded himself eventually.
Yeah.
So either way, he was going to lose that battle. But yeah, very emotional there. Let's see, Carlos, are you back, bro? There you
go.
Yeah, what do you think of that whole scene? Where Powerplex and Invincible finally have it out and the consequences of that little battle.
I like the scene, like Chris mentioned. Also, I want to say it was pretty shocking seeing what happened to the wife and kid. Yep. I gotta throw in some Richard Bailey-isms into the show. It was pretty devastating what happened. But I will say this: if I was in Mark's position, I would just tell him, "Hey, man, welcome to the club. this is how it feels, because the whole world ain't, like I mentioned previously, it ain't black and white. So we know when you do all these things, lusting for revenge and all that stuff, like there's consequences to this, and that you just saw what happened. I also wonder what would have happened if he was able to fully discharge all of his capacitors, all of his flux capacitors. It would have been interesting to see if it would have been enough to take down Invincible, but probably not. So yeah, I like the way they did it. I like how raw it was. They didn't really skimp out on any of the gory details for what happened.
Yeah, man, he was holding his fucking charred baby's hand, man. Brutal,
Mm-hmm.
Like they did not skimp on that.
Did he even get his name? I don't remember what it was.
Jack. That was the kid's name, Jack. Yeah.
Shout out to Jack, man.
Yeah, Jack, man.
Justice for him and the Jack from the Titanic.
Yeah, So yeah, Rich, what do you think of the final confrontation and the consequences?
I thought it was a phenomenal confrontation. I think that the wife got what she wanted, because she, like you guys said, was the driving force behind this thirst to get revenge on Invincible. And as Tony mentioned, ride or die, literally die. That's what happens in the end. I was surprised it didn't happen sooner, because at the beginning, earlier in the episode, when she was putting this stuff into him, I figured something could have happened at that point where she could have gotten hit or something like that. But
she spit on Invincible. Remember that part?
Yeah, when he went to
Helper. Yeah. I did laugh when I saw that, because again, Invincible, he didn't know. Oh yeah, that's his wife and that's his kid. He didn't know that. So I think they did a phenomenal job. But I will make this comment. You guys said at the end, you see how what his mindset is. To me, I don't think that Powerplex learned anything from this, because he still thinks that Mark is responsible. Invincible is responsible. I'm going to get my hands on you when I find a way to get out of here. So you see, that lacks accountability. So very interesting. But I thought it was a fantastic fight. Unfortunately, we saw what happened. But again, do we feel sorry for the wife? Because she was the one that was telling him, okay, yeah, I need you to keep going after him. But I do feel sorry for the kid, 1000%. Yeah.
And that's a good segue, because that's what happened. Obviously, they sent him to prison. They actually put safeguards on him, unlike Multi-Paul. They actually had him hooked up. But now he was already in it to get Invincible, but now he's really about it, because it's not only had he lost his other family, but now he lost his wife and kid. He's when I get out of here, I'm going to find a way. I'm going to fucking kill you.
Oh, he'll be back.
Yeah.
He'll
be
back.
in it. He's in it for real now.
Oh, yeah. Now he has nothing to lose. He's lost everything.
Yeah, go ahead, man.
Now, let me ask a quick question for you guys, as well as the people commenting. When Mark decided that he wanted to speak to him, do you think Mark should have done that? Because I think that maybe pissed him off even more, where he gave that response. I would have liked to know if Mark didn't say nothing to him. Yeah, he probably still would have went after Mark, but do you think that maybe turned it up another notch? Because he's like, oh, you understand? Well, no, I'm coming after you.
Rich, that is a brilliant question, because it's a wonderful question. Fantastic question. I will say this.
I agree with that question.
I do agree with everything that's been said. The whole thing with Mark coming into Powerplex, and that's something I understand why Powerplex was pissed. It's like Mark's coming into him and be like, yo, man, let me tell you about life. Let me tell you how you should feel. You never should do that when you go to someone that's grieving, especially when you understand why they're grieving. They'd be like, oh, yo, man, you just don't understand what's going on. And it's you really shouldn't, when you're talking to someone that's in mourning like that, and that to that degree, you shouldn't really do that.
To be more specific, Mark came to him saying, yo, I get it. I should have thought about these people. I feel really sorry. And Powerplex is like, I don't give a fuck. If you feel bad now, that's supposed to make me feel better. So no, I agree with you. It's dude, he doesn't give a fuck how you feel, man.
Yeah. And also, I want to mention something a little bit tangentially related to Powerplex. The capacitors that were installed with him can't be taken off without him dying, right? And the dude can generate a whole lot of electricity. I'm surprised he wasn't sold to Microsoft or Google to power up those data centers.
just to take turns whaling him to power the data center.
There you go. Make some use.
Yeah, like it could be some kind of like boot thing, like keeps kicking him and stuff. and his own power keeps it going. Oh man. But yeah, so obviously this dude's gonna be back. And then we have like a little bit of a short sequence where Mark, and Eve, they're talking about it. But we'll get to how that ended later. But let's shift gears a little bit. Let's talk about some of the other things that happened this episode, specifically with the Guardians. Two main things happen. One is that Robot figured out how to stop a monster girl from aging. And remember, this dude still doesn't understand human emotions very well. So when she started crying out of gratitude, and he didn't understand that, but then he finally got it. But it shows you how smart this motherfucker is. He figured out, it's like, oh, your magic may have a bug in it because it reverts you to a different temporal version of yourself. So I'm going to correct for that. I like that whole little part. So yeah, what'd you guys think? Chris, start with you.
Yeah, that was pretty clever how he figured it out. Also, he translated magic into technical knowledge. That like you said, he said your curse has a glitch.
Yeah,
and I'm going to just correct it with this belt. And I thought that was fantastic. I'm like, oh shit, he treated it like a software problem. And he's like, oh, if I just do this, save. Basically, he makes an image of herself before she changes, and then it just restores it. And then so she doesn't de-age anymore. And I was like, that's pretty freaking brilliant, that he was able to figure that out. So that was a good scene, and it had it was good emotional payoff. Like they're getting closer, their characters, and and then it triggers another conversation later with Ray and Rex later. But that was well done.
Yeah, we'll get to that. Carlos, what do you think of the whole robot and monster girl sequence?
I felt like that was pretty well done. I'm just curious, is he going to be able to reverse it? Is she still going to be a little kid for the rest of her life? That those are what I'm wondering about, because it's interesting that we got to that point. What can Robot not do at this point?
He can't figure out who made the cameras.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
Remember?
He can't figure that out. Go ahead, Rich.
No, I thought it was very well done scene. Those are great questions that you guys asked. The question I have, though, is what is Robot's role going to be in regards to Invincible? Because I feel like they're telling you all this stuff about what he can do. Very smart, very intelligent. Obviously, he was able to help her out. We'll see if that works out. But what is his bigger role towards Invincible? That's the question I want to see answered.
Yeah, and that's a good question, because remember, one of the reasons he left the Guardians, he specifically said, I don't want to get on his bad side.
Mm-hmm.
He said that specifically. So he's thinking, okay, so about Monster Girl, I'm not familiar exactly how her powers work, but I'm guessing if she doesn't when she doesn't transform, she ages normally, but the instant she transforms, it goes back. But if now she doesn't go, it kind of locks her into whatever state
so she'll just age normally.
She'll age normally. Because think about it like this. Let's just say, for sake of argument, a month passes. She hasn't gotten into any battles. She's aged a month. So when she does morph into the monster, it'll save that version of her that's a month later. So presumably she's going to age normally now, So that'll be interesting. And then, we get to the kind of final thing here. Because last week, obviously, Rex and Ray had a little moment and stuff. You kind of see this shit been building up for a couple episodes now. But then she kind of hits it with a whopper, because she comes into the room. You're thinking, all right, my man's about to get that donkey wet, but something else happens instead. She says, I'm quitting. And she wanted him to leave. But Rex is like, you know what my last name is? Splode. Like, I don't have a real name. Like, my whole identity comes from what the government gave me. I can't just give this shit up, And I kind of understand where he's coming from, because he never, even though he complains a lot, oh, fuck this, I'll believe it, fuck that. He's like, this is who I am, bro. you know. But for her, she's like, dude, we almost got killed. Like, I don't want to live this fucking life anymore. So you kind of understand where they're both coming from. Again, great characters that aren't just one dimensional in this shit, you know. Go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, I do like that conversation. Like they've been connecting over the season, and I like that. And then it culminates and she's like, "Look, I almost got killed. I was spending months in the hospital. I've been thinking about this, and coming back out in the field, I don't want to do this anymore." And and she wants to be with him, so it makes sense. And since I think maybe what triggered her to have that conversation right then was seeing, because she was watching from a distance Robot and Monster Girl doing the experiment, and then seeing how she reacted, and she got emotional, and she's like, you know what, fuck this, she goes up to his room and just lays it all out. And I like that. I like that conversation because it was great. It's her perspective is like, no, it's going to happen. It's not if we get killed, it's when. It's already happened, and it's going to happen again, and we need to get out of here before we just end up dead and we don't have a chance to like live a normal life. And I can understand where he's coming from. He's like, I never had a normal life, but it's like he's willing to take that chance. So that I like that conversation.
Yeah, go ahead, Rich.
I also make a comment and say this version of the Guardians team has been taking L's since the season has started. they get their asses whooped in every matchup. So I don't blame her for wanting to leave, because yes, that's more than enough reason to say, okay, it's time to do something different. But I will say this, we will see where they go with that storyline. Obviously, she does want to have a relationship with Rex, so there's going to be some conflicts there with him and how he deals with this situation. But I don't blame her for leaving, because the team needs some assistance, right? They need to learn how to fight better, better strategize plans and be prepared for some villains. And hopefully they better be prepared for what's ahead, because there's a lot of stuff that's ahead.
Yeah. And my question is, because I'm like, what's their name? Like, because remember, they were like, when they first got together, like, what the hell are we going to call ourselves? And one of them was bro, we are not the team. We're not the team. I'm a grown ass man. Like, it was one of the black guys. He's like, listen, I'm a grown dude. I'm not fucking calling myself team. So I don't know what the hell these guys are calling themselves at the moment. But yeah, Carlos, what are your thoughts on the whole Rex and Ray situation?
It was something that made me think, are they gonna one by one just be leaving the team and maybe do something else? I feel like this is sort of painting the picture of saying, hey, they're gonna dissolve, but you never know. I mean, they're not gonna get rid of Rex or anything, and Homegirl, I don't know, is that gonna be the end? We'll see. Robot is still gonna hold things down, but I mean, because initially we predicted like, oh, there's gonna be like a civil war between them and the heroes, right?
Yeah.
So I'm wondering, if that's not gonna happen, it's gonna lead more towards the team dissolving at some point.
Well, let me make a comment based off of what Carlos said. If there was a civil war today between this team and Immortals team is going to whoop their asses. Yes. So I hope they are prepared for whatever happens, because they need to prepare better.
Well, we'll see, man. That team couldn't handle Powerplex.
Yeah.
Oh, true. Yeah, that's true too.
Yeah, they may be powerful, but they're incompetent. And then obviously, we have the ending here, the one that Rich predicted. We finally find out who has been keeping tabs on Mark, and it's none other than Mr. Angstrom Levy. He's stitched himself back together, but more importantly, he's got a crew of other Invincibles behind him. So Chris and I, we can't talk more about what's going to come, but I specifically want to get Chris. I mean, you could comment on this if you want, but obviously, make sure you don't talk about certain things, Yeah.
I mean, you kind of can see where this is going, like all these like versions of Mark that he's like, oh, this will do, and then you see it like, and you're like, oh, all right, so he's been cherry picking from the multiverse there, and something's coming, but the payoff was all the red orb cameras was him, and in fact, I think in the comic more they kept harping on the cameras, like
they did, yeah,
and so that they just did it once here, and then he kind of gave up when nobody could give him an answer, like who it was. Even in this one, he thought it was Powerplex, right? He tells Donald, "Oh, now I know who's been spying on me," and he's like, "No, we already told you this is not GDA tech. We don't know who this is."
Yeah, yeah, you're right. Like Mark harped on it more, but this show still has done a good job of keeping
it. Yeah.
And I really, and Chris, I think you like this sequence too. Remember, Mark busts into the Pentagon and shit. He's like, "Yo, you've been spying on me. What the fuck?" And Cecil's like, "I haven't been spying on you with that shit, you know." Yeah. And then when he leaves, Cecil's like, "Yeah, we have been spying on him, but not with that.
Yeah,
you know." So yeah, and because remember they were like, "We don't know this fucking tech. We don't know this shit." But so that was already your clue that it was somebody outside, and I think Rich, you're the one that picked up on it. Like, yeah, this is probably Angstrom Levy.
Yeah, the reason why I came to that conclusion is because obviously that character had a very traumatic events with Mark last season. It felt as though even though he killed that version, a version of that character, it just felt like this was a nonstop thing where this guy was going to keep coming after him. Not to mention the fact that the actor who plays him, Sterling K. Brown, this guy is on a couple of shows now that have been doing pretty well. And he was asked if he would consider doing more Invincible, and he was kind of coy on his response. So I figured this guy is probably coming back again. So I kind of figured it would make sense because the guy is obsessed, but the nice twist of him having all these versions of Invincible, that makes it very, very interesting to see where they're going with this.
Yeah, I'm guessing because you kind of suspected Ansra, but you weren't seeing that, did you? The other Invincibles,
no.
You weren't expecting that.
No.
Yeah, Carlos, what do you think, bro?
Yeah, I'm curious to see how Paul is connected to all of this.
He's one of the Invincibles.
He's one of the Invincibles. No, the whole thing with the Invincibles, that part is interesting because I'm not sure. Obviously, from what we know is that most, if not all, the other Invincibles in the multiverse are all bad marks. So somehow they need motivation. My guess is, now that I'm thinking about it, maybe the motivation is this mark. It went against the will of the Viltrumites, and we got to correct them or do something to fix him. So maybe that's the motivation. But I'm curious to see how Angstrom Levy got them all to get together, because obviously Angstrom Levy hates them.
Yeah,
because they're the reason why he's doing what he's doing.
Yeah, all I have to say about that is to quote Richard, "Stay tuned." But yeah, that's gonna kind of do it for us. And as we usually do, I'm gonna ask you guys, what are you looking forward to next? Chris, I never answer this, so I guess you can't either, because for obvious reasons. But this is the part where I get to enjoy the theories. And again, like when Rich correctly predicted Angstrom, I'm like, yeah, that's good, So yeah, Rich, what do you think? What do you expect is going to be coming up? Remember, we're about to head into the penultimate episode next week.
Yes, with 2 episodes remaining, I suspect that this version of Angstrom Levy is going to make his move. If it's not in the next episode, it's going to be in the finale.
Oh, shit.
And I think that at this point, this is when you're going to see the return of Omni-Man, because Mark and Oliver, I don't think that that's going to be enough to deal with this version of Angstrom Levy and all of his Invincibles. So I think you're going to see the reunion with father and sons very soon. I think that's what's going to happen.
Yeah. What about you, Carlos? What do you predict for the last 2 episodes?
I agree with Rich. I feel like probably at the end of the next episode, we're going to get sort of Omni-Man make his return with Alan the Alien. And they're going to be helping out with whatever situation Angstrom's going to put this world into. I will say this though. At the beginning, I thought, we got Omni-Man, because I forget what was the name of the episode, something about like sorry is not enough or something like that. So when I read it, I was like, that maybe that means like Omni-Man coming back to Earth, and handling that. And then the flashback at the beginning of the episode, it was Mark fighting Omni-Man and all that stuff. So I'm like, oh, so they're already gonna get Omni-Man and Mark together this episode. But no, but then it made sense how they the Powerplex stuff happened. So yeah, so I looking forward to see what happens with when Omni-Man and Alan get back home. And I feel like I'll be interested to see how Mark fights the other Marks. That'll be interesting.
I do have one other quick prediction I do want to make as well. The Guardians will get their asses whooped as well. So stay tuned. The next 2 episodes, they're going to get their asses whooped once again.
Yeah. Again, I'm not, no spoilers, but no spoilers. But Carlos, what you said about how Angstrom's plan is going to affect the world, very pertinent sentence right there. So I'll just leave it at that. Chris, you could chime in if you want, but obviously watch out for spoilers,
Yeah, I'm gonna plead the fifth because I know what's coming. So I'm not gonna lie and be like, oh, I think this is gonna
Basically, I'm putting you under the same rules I put myself in for this episode.
I'll plead the fifth.
Plead the fifth. I mostly do it because I want to see how right you guys are. And Rich, I'll have to say overall, you've gotten a lot of stuff right. So
that's good.
Shout out to Dana. She's gotten a lot of stuff wrong. But we love Dana, so hopefully she'll be back. She's watching another superhero show for you guys. So I'm not gonna say anything. So stay tuned to the Koalition. But yeah, we're done. Thank you for joining us once again. But yeah, Rich, what is coming up on the Koalition with regards to gaming and entertainment?
Well, for entertainment, as Tony mentioned, Dana is working on something. So stay tuned for that. Also, I will mention that Dana, myself, and Gary, we will be recording Power because that returns this upcoming Friday. So stay tuned for that if you're a Power fan. That's it for the entertainment side. On the gaming side, we're in the very busy month of March. There are quite a bit of things I'm working on that I can't talk about. I'm also going to GDC to see several things I can't talk about. So, but stay tuned. If you're a fan of gaming, just stay tuned to the Koalition. There will be a lot of great things coming to the website and to the channel this upcoming month or this month. Yeah.
Good stuff. And then obviously you could check out all 4 of us on the Throwdown Show podcast every Thursday and Sunday night at 10:30 p.m. Eastern. Also, the Monster Hunter streams are back. Me, Chris, and Carlos, we did a very epic stream last night. I was actually in it for like almost 6 hours. So we're going to do that again tonight and for many, many weeks, until we beat the game. So lots of good stuff happening. Definitely check out the last episode of Throwdown where Rich and I give our review of Monster Hunter Wilds. Adam Vale gives his review of the Yakuza Pirate game. And we talk about all the shenanigans happening in the gaming industry. And as we rightly predicted, yes, the reason WB sold or closed down Monolith is because they lost so much money on fucking Suicide Squad. We correctly predicted that. So if you want to hear more correct predictions, check out Throwdown every week. So yeah, we are done here. So thanks again for joining us for the Invincible podcast. Looking forward to the next 2 episodes and also looking forward to not having to wait as long. I'm still traumatized by waiting like 2 years or whatever it was between season 1 and 2. This show's great. Again, this is the only show I watch because they're sticking to the comics. No bullshit, no identity stuff. It's just, here's the comic. Robert Kirkman said, I'm lazy. I'm just covering the book, and that's good. Keep it at that. Don't act any stuff. This is fantastic. So yeah,
well, I'll use my outro for one additional thing. I know he's following the comic, and he's even fleshing stuff out. The only thing I'll say is I feel like Mark that him talking to Powerplex at the end, or why he felt he wanted to connect with him, is because something that's missing in this show. And what came before Powerplex was the Astounding Wolfman crossover, which is not in here, which I thought was a missed opportunity. I'll just say this is not a spoiler because it didn't happen, right?
It didn't happen.
But it did happen in the comic, and it would have been great. Like, this could have been an introduction to that character and give him a show. Because you're doing so well with this one, I think that would be a pretty interesting show too, to adopt some of Kirkman's other stuff into animated form. But that didn't happen. But the talk between him and Astounding Wolfman, him explaining to Invincible that he didn't kill his wife and all that stuff, was in his head, and that's why he thought, oh, maybe I could connect to this guy But then that's
point,
missing.
yeah.
He just stupidly is like, "Oh, I understand." You're like, no, you don't understand shit.
Yeah, but at the same time, it's in Mark's character to do that. Because
well, they did establish it with Eve.
Yeah,
Remember,
yeah.
his friend said, "Don't talk about future her." Right when you
Yeah.
go,
and then he fucked it up.
He fucked it up. Yeah,
he fucked it up. You know, but no, it's a good point. But yeah, let's wrap it up here. So once again, I was your host, Tony Polanco, and today I was joined by Richard Bailey Jr.
Have a good weekend, everybody.
Carlos Romero.
Peace out.
And Chris Seeley.
Yeah, finally glad to be here, guys.
Yeah, man. 2 more episodes. People get hype. You'll know. All right. We'll see you next week. Later.
Deuces.
It is.